Hello, my name is Gabrielle. My pronouns are she, her, and no, I'm not voice trained. And today I'm going to present a guide for buying perfumes. Now, this video is aimed at trans people, as I am trans, and I am intending for this video specifically to be shared within trans circles. But most tips in here would benefit anyone else watching as well. Everything here counts as a general guide for buying perfume, regardless of who you are. If you're completely new to perfume, then I hope this video helps you get started. And if you already know a little bit, I hope this fleshes out your knowledge. I assume that there are similar videos out there. I haven't looked and I don't care to look because I am making this guide because I trust myself to have good taste. And I see trans people online being unsure on how to buy perfumes because it's often something new to their gender expression. And it can feel very intimidating because there is so much out there, and often the people who ask get subpar advice from others. So I want to help provide a high quality guide. So let's get into it. So first, I'm going to talk a bit about perfumes and gender. Perfumes are gendered, unfortunately. This gendering is of course artificial, largely a result of marketing tactics that started around the time that perfumes became more accessible to the middle and working classes. Feminine perfumes tend to be floral, light, and fruity because women are delicate and their scent should be intimate to those close to them and not project very far. And masculine perfumes tend to be musky, woody, spicy, because men need to assert their presence with a more permeating scent. There are, of course, unisex perfumes, and those are sometimes marketed as unisex, specifically in order to communicate to you that the dichotomy need not apply. And I mean, it's interesting to note that perfume didn't used to be gendered, and other extracorporeal fragrance products such as candles or air fresheners or whatnot are often not gendered or at least marketed as such. It's when fragrance emanates from you as part of your identity that gender roles are imposed. And I of course encourage everyone to subvert gender roles with fragrances. I wear anything; it doesn't matter what it smells of. I mean, get queer with it. For example, if you're a butch lesbian, you can wear traditionally manly perfumes. If you're a bear, wear something white floral. And toss it around. But of course, if you want to subsume gender roles for purposes of passing or affirmation or whatnot, then go ahead. So this begs the question: can perfumes help you pass? Not really. Perfumes are definitely not something that are a deciding factor in whether you pass or not. And I'd say that at most it is simply an accessory to your presented gender, meaning that if you're seen as a particular gender, those who perceive you may take note of your fragrance as something appropriate to your gender presentation. For example, if you're a trans woman, have cis woman friends, and wear feminine perfume, those friends may see you as more someone who has the feminine lens when buying perfume. Adding to your perceived womanhood. So next we're going to talk about quality. And first we have to reckon with the fact that most people wear bad perfumes. And this is because for those who are not as deep into perfume and who just want to find something that smells nice, their main source of inspiration is advertisements, recommendations from friends who also smell bad, or just picking something bad from a store. And most of the perfumes that fit these categories are the ones made by cheaper brands or big brands like the major fashion houses, fashion designers, celebrities, or just other brands that happen to have a perfume line. I mean, for example, I have these Jaguar perfumes for some reason. Um, so these brands are profit driven. Even major fashion houses whose reputations are built on their history of quality pump out the dog shit perfumes, often multiple versions of a top seller they have in order to capitalize on it. They can't be bothered to innovate. Like here's multiple versions of Gucci's Flora, sort of, so that you can smell bad in more ways than one. This is not to say that major brands are not capable of making good perfumes. Some are, of course, classics, like Chanel No. 5, and some are more contemporary, like Dior's Collection Privé, which has some great perfumes, such as Fève Délicieuse and Eau Noire. And many classic perfumes made by big brands have had their recipes changed, often for the worse. This is often because these perfumes are seen as obsolete because their profile is no longer up to speed with modern trends, or it's just seen as too vintage. But my overall point here is that it's easy to end up with something inferior if you go via the route of mainstream advertising. And you may be thinking, but I like those perfumes, and everyone around me that likes them too. So what's the problem? But that's a utilitarian argument, and as we all know, utilitarianism is baby's first system of ethics. You lack taste, and we need to do something about it. So, acquiring taste. It's a shame that most people wear bad perfume. I think that the diversity of the human experience is one of the cornerstones of our happiness. And if we all got better at wearing perfume and invested in the thousands of interesting niche fragrances out there, our daily lives would be a little more interesting. So how do you get better at buying perfume? Well, I mentioned niche fragrances, and that's a good place to start looking. Niche fragrances usually refer to perfumes that are produced by perfume houses that exist outside of big brand mainstream perfume production. This doesn't mean that they are obscure, just that such houses are primarily interested in the quality of their main product, perfume, and sell a more limited range to a narrower clientele. There are houses like Guerlain and Kilian that are a niche in the sense that they focus primarily on perfume, but they are very well-known brands and are like larger brands that you see sharing space with Versace and Coach in the perfume section at an airport. And none of this is to say that the niche houses are more noble or less capitalistic than large companies. They are often small businesses after all, and nowadays many of them are owned by larger companies anyway. And thus the category of niche perfume is becoming muddier. But the focus on quality is the important part of niche houses. Now, it's important to note that much like how large companies are able to make good perfume, niche houses are able to make bad perfume. The reason I'm recommending niche perfumes is because that market is where you are best able to acquire the taste required in order to get used to identifying quality. So, how can you tell a bad perfume and a good perfume apart? So, here are some few characteristics of a bad perfume. Number one is that it smells soapy or like ethanol. Ethanol is a commonly used solvent in perfumes, and usually this is fine. But sometimes if you have a poorly mixed or cheaply made perfume, it will have this sort of like baseline soapy / hand sanitizer smell. It smells cheap, essentially, and this cheap smell will be very similar across such bad perfumes. It will always be there if you're able to smell it, basically. Number two is that it smells generic. This one you might need some practice for, but many perfumes on the more mainstream market just smell very similar, usually pandering to the current stereotypes for male and female perfume. Like, if you smell a male perfume, and you can just imagine like the most like generic guy, like tight t-shirt, business school ass man, then you should avoid that. If you go to the perfume section of some major cosmetics chain and smell the perfumes, you'll see what is the like meta kinda, aka the great blandness. Number 3 is that it's too linear. A good complex perfume will change over time, shifting from the top notes, which are the ones that you smell right as you spray, through the middle notes, then down to the base notes, once the volatiles of the top and middle notes have disappeared. A linear perfume may not necessarily be bad if the linearity is intentional and the scent is good. For example, I have a sample of this is Flaming Dandelion by Rook, which doesn't really change much, but I think it's very nice. But sometimes you can notice that that a perfume is boring and is not proceeding through the notes it promises, or it just dies off way too quickly. Number 4 is that it's a knockoff. Do not buy knockoffs; they are never good, because they either smell worse than their authentic equivalent, or they don't smell like it at all. And they may seem appealing to some because they are often cheaper, but as I will describe later in the pricing section, this is not the way to go. Number 5 is that their performance is disproportionate. If a perfume fails to project well, it can be an indicator of poor quality. Some perfumes are intended to project less and have a more like intimate scent. So you need to see if the performance is proportionate to the scent profile. If it's a perfume with stronger, bolder ingredients like spices or leather or oak moss, and it's failing to perform, then that ain't good. Number 6 is that the balance is off. If one note takes over a bit too much, then it can be a sign of a poorly mixed perfume. Check if you can actually smell a decent amount of the notes that are promised, or if it's just like 1 or 2 that are dominating the rest. So pricing and purchasing. The main rule of buying perfume is to never blind buy a full bottle. Only buy a full bottle if you know that you like the perfume enough to do that. For example, I have a full bottle of, this is Guerlain's Eau de Guerlain, because I think that it is a contender for the greatest citrus fragrance ever made. Now, not all expensive perfume is good, but good perfume is expensive, especially if you buy a full bottle. The thing you should always start with is samples. These are small vials of perfume, usually around 2 milliliters or so. For example, there's the here's what a sample looks like, and they are exactly what they sound like, samples. Just like small samples of a perfume that's meant for you to try it and then see if you want to buy more, basically. Samples are relatively inexpensive compared to a full bottle, of course. And the thing is, if you amass a collection of samples that you rotate, they are going to last a while. For example, I have here this is a sample set from Parfum D'Empire, and in this one there are 5 samples. There's Ambre Russe, there's Asimur des Orange, there's Asillade, there's Corsica Furiosa, and there is Le Cri. And like, if you have these 5 samples and rotate through them, that is still quite a lot of perfume. And this way of buying perfumes is more economically sound, and also allows you to explore a great deal more than if you're splurging on full bottles once in a while. You can often get samples in discovery sets. I mean, this is a discovery set. And these are usually made by the perfume house itself. Sometimes these sets are pre-made and come with a set amount of certain perfumes. And sometimes you can choose which samples you want in a certain set. And this is a great way of exploring the quality of a house that you find interesting. Now, here's a few houses that I recommend. I will be putting them all in the description. So yeah, I mean, these are just some good ones that you can check out as a starting point. And yeah. Now, if you are poor and you're interested in perfume, samples still provide an opportunity to get something of quality, rather than opting for full bottles of something cheaper or, God forbid, knockoffs. Even if you only get one sample once in a while. But once again, none of this is inexpensive. Where to buy? As I mentioned in the previous section, you can of course buy from the perfume house itself. Most often they have a website. Be mindful of where the perfume house is located, so that there's any shipping costs or tariffs or whatnot. And you can also buy from qualified perfume retailers, particularly those that specialize in niche fragrances. Here's some examples. There's scentsplit.com in the US, the perfumedcourt.com in the US. This one is good for finding vintage fragrances. There's fragrancesamplesuk.com for Europe. There's visionaryfragrances.com for Europe. There's scentsamples.uk.com for Europe. And where I live, here in Sweden, there's kaubparfumerie.se and fablab.nu, both of which have physical locations. I don't know every retailer in the whole world, so if you're like in Sri Lanka, then I don't know, sorry. But if you want a full bottle, then you can also look elsewhere by just Googling. But be careful so that you don't get scammed and receive a counterfeit or the wrong product. Basic internet skepticism applies here. I mean, the ultimate best way to buy perfume is to go to a physical store and smell around and find something, and then still get a sample before you buy a full bottle. You just need to find if the store has niche houses, and that those houses are of somewhat quality. I unfortunately don't know every physical niche perfume store in the world, but if you find one, take a look inside, see if they have a website, and watch for any niche houses that you may recognize or have familiarized yourself with. So, lastly, diving in. If you haven't really bought perfume before, then diving in and making your first purchase feels a bit intimidating. There's so much and you don't know where to start. And my main tip is that you just have to go for something. I mean, there's all the houses that I recommended, of course, so that could be a starting point, but otherwise, browse the websites. I recommend to go to any physical store that you may know of, and then just go for something, just anything that you that sounds interesting. Just don't make your first purchase a big one. Yeah. Now, I'm also going to talk a bit about fragrantica, Um, uh, Fragrantica is the biggest and indeed most useful perfume database on the internet. On Fragrantica, you can search for perfumes by certain notes, certain houses, certain designers, etc. And then each perfume will have a communal rating as well as communal opinions on the gendering, performance, which seasons and time of day it's suitable to wear, etc. And you can create an account and log all the perfumes you have and also write reviews. I will warn that Fragrantica has started to incorporate AI in some places, such as with these summaries of the positives and negatives of a perfume that I usually just ignore. So be aware of that. Now, I want to talk about the reviews and ratings on Fragrantica because they can be helpful or misleading. For example, if you find a niche perfume that has not that many ratings but a high rating, you can assume that it is good because you can assume that the audience it has attracted is deeper into niche perfumes and may have a better idea of quality. Conversely, popular fragrances will have thousands of ratings from both those who have a sense of quality and those who don't. So you really cannot discern much from these ratings or reviews because you don't really know who's babbling and who is right without cross-checking their profiles forever. So yeah, I'm gonna drop my Fragrantica profile in the description as well, so that you can see my whole collection. I mean, in fact, I have my whole collection up on that shelf there, as you can see. So yeah. So conclusion. That's about it. I hope I was at least able to give a decently comprehensive introduction. And as I mentioned in the intro, this video has tips for everyone, but I'm aiming it at all the trans people out there who are trying to get started or to get deeper into perfume. So yeah, share this video around. Give me some critique if you want. Listen to my music project, One Man Marching Band. And have a nice day. Bye.